Maybe not fun, but we're going to have a good time. Today's topic is the American Psychological Association Guide to Citation and Formatting. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but I want to tell you that though today may not be the most rip-roaring time we've had together, in some ways, it's the third most important day we've had. Annotation, It This Thing, and APA. APA is about a system, like a roadmap, of how to get to one place from another place. And like a map, you don't need to memorize all the elements on the map. Memorize all the streets between here and 1500 West South Street in Albuquerque. No, that's not our goal. Our goal is to understand how to read the map and then to use the map as necessary. So when I say read the map, what I mean is the blue squiggly line means river. The two lines together mean bridge. Once you know how the system works, the system makes it pretty easy for you to navigate. And the same is true with APA. All right, I'm going to share my screen and let's talk a little bit about APA. First, most important part is to recognize that the system has two components. The first component is formatting. How much do I space between lines? Do I indent my paragraphs? What kind of font should I use? Do I need a header? What constitutes a page? Those questions are handled in the formatting section, and they're important. And you should ask, and this is going to be a key point, every time when you first turn in a document to a faculty member, what system are you using? Do you have a model of that system that I can borrow so that I can give you what you want? Because the format guide, though it's very clear and very strict in some ways in APA guides, is fungible, and many instructors will want something slightly different or have expectations that are a little shifted from what the APA guide says. So it's extremely important that you ask your faculty members, what do you want my document to look like, and do you have a model so that I can meet your expectations? So that's on formatting. The second is citation. Now there are lots of different ways to cite work. Cite other people's ideas, to cite quotations that come in from a journal, a magazine, a tweet, a Facebook post, a picture you found in a magazine, any information that you want to bring into your text. There's MLA, Chicago, Turabian, the AP, probably 15 other different style guides. We've chosen, or I've chosen APA for us because a lot of the other programs here will use APA. The nursing program does, for example. And once you learn the system, moving from one system to another if you need to is not that hard. APA and MLA are different only in some of the verbiage, where some of the periods go, where some of the little parentheses go, but not in the actual execution. It's just a slightly different kind of map, but it's the same, it's still a map. So there are two efforts, one for formatting, one for citation. We're going to focus on citation today. You have to think about APA as an ecosystem with little frogs and mosquitoes and lily pads and birds and all. Okay, that's not entirely true. It's not that kind of ecosystem, but there is a very clear circle of propriety necessary for you to maintain, to not get charged with, not to be considered for plagiarizing. Plagiarizing is any time you use someone else's words or ideas and fail to cite them, fail to give proper credit to them. Lots of different kinds of plagiarism. Most in academic is accidental. You neglected to do it correctly. You neglected to put in one part of the citation. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes you copy a large chunk of text from another source and you just, hey, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to keep it and say it's mine. That's the kind that gets you in trouble. Don't do that. Okay. So you're writing an essay about political First Amendment and speech issues, and you're reading a document Here it is, in which this guy says this thing. You see it's in quote marks, so this is a quotation. This is our source. And you're writing along, and you say, hey, I really like that. I want to drag it into my essay. And so you do. And as you drag it into your essay, you use the appropriate information that allows me to go back to your references page where the source information is listed that allows me to get back to the source. So you can see the ecosystem is a circle. If any of these arrows gets broken or stopped, then you have plagiarized. If I'm reading your essay and I can't find the reference in the references page, the system's broke. If I'm looking at an entry on your references page, but it doesn't get me back to the source, then it's broke. So all three of these elements are necessary. So what do these three elements look like? Let's talk about the source. The first quality is to identify the source in an in-text citation. In-text citation! That means it's in your text, it's in your essay. How do you properly cite in text? Three components. The first is you need to set the context. We call this an attribution. Who, what, where. The attribution not only provides the information that allows us to do the citation, the attribution provides you credibility because you're telling me where you got the source, who the person is that gave you the source, if the source is a reasonable, unbiased, disinterested, and in some ways useful source, or is it some biased, freaky political thing that no one's going to believe? The attribution will almost always include the author's name, a little bit about the author's title, and then you can get into the quotation. Lots of different ways to do an attribution. Here's one. According to Andrew Morantz in his article, Fighting Words, and there's the whole article title, and then I give the quotation. Here are some elements to notice. That's the actual author's name, not the person who's speaking. In this case, this dude is doing the speaking, or at least it's his information that's being quoted. But this is the article where the information persists. In APA, right next to the person's name, you put the date when the article was published. And if there's a page number, you put the page number. Often when we're doing online sources, there's no page number, and then the period would just go here. Author's name, title of the article, page number. Notice too that I have a concluding phrase. Many of us have the impulse just to drop a quotation in. All the world's indeed a stage. Do you know why I put that quotation in there? No, because I didn't give you an attribution and I didn't give you a contextual. So, according to the rock band Rush and the writer of the song Limelight, Neil Peart, all the world's indeed a stage. Clearly, Neil Peart is trying to tell us that we put on masks each morning we go out. Three components: an introduction, the quotation which includes at least most of the information necessary to get back to the reference page, and then a contextual statement. Lots of ways to do it. You can do it with a colon, you can do it interrupting it, you can do it at the end, you can do it at the beginning. But what you'll notice is that if I don't have the name here, I have the name here. If I don't have the date here, I have the date here. Those three elements show up either in the attribution or they show up in the parentheses. Mailman must be here. Sorry about that. Any questions about attributions or in-text citations? So I'm going to say again, the goal, it's a goal, is to be able to get your respondent. I'm going to close the door. Hold on a second. She's a cute puppy, but she can be a little barky. Is to be able to get your reader back to your references page. Any questions about in-text citations? I guess I could bark too. Woof. It's okay. So there's the source, There's your essay, and then over here is your references page. They make a circle. The references page includes only the references you actually make in your essay. It does not include ones that you survey, that you like the cover of, that you read a couple paragraphs in and think you'd like me to know that you read it because it's, you know, it's a nice book. No, only those ones that you have information in your essay that you quoted, some language, a statistic, an important idea, those go in. What else to notice about the references page? Oh my gosh, they're alphabetical. Wait a minute, that's not somebody's name. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But they're alphabetical by what's in the left-hand margin. And you'll also notice the left-hand margin is reverse indented. The second line, or third or fourth or fifth, are indented. Why? Because if I'm here in my text and I see the name Marantz, and I want to go quickly back, then I go over here. Oh, and there's Marantz in the outside left margin where I can quickly find the book. Alphabetical, separated, indented. What if you don't have an author? Well, in this case, you have a corporate author. This association put out this video file, in this case, is what it is. Oh, well, here the institution put it out. Ah, finally, an author with a regular name. Now we're with you. Most times you will have an author, but sometimes you'll just have the publication name or the website name and not the author. This is why it's important to gather all the information you can. Who is the author? What's the title? What's the web page name? Where was it published? What were the dates? What were the pages? All of that bibliographic information, most of it will be used. And sometimes when you don't have it, you just move down the scale. Name goes first, then the date, then the title, then the place of publication, then if there's a website, the hypertext transfer protocol. But if I don't have a name, it just slides down to the title. And if I don't have a title, it slides down to the hypertext transfer protocol, or whatever information you have that will get us back to the source. That's the key. Okay. Other elements to notice that are small but important. If you do have a hypertext transfer protocol, a URL, there is no punctuation at the end. It's different from MLA. There's always punctuation at the end on MLA. But if you put the punctuation there, then it would invalidate the URL because it would read it as part of the code, and it doesn't. Dates are in parentheses. Okay, this looks very complicated because there's a lot of different information all spread out. But in fact, it's a form, like a map. What are the highways that get me from here to Albuquerque? Oh, well, you get on 285 and then you get on 40 and you're there. Oh, well, that's easy. What about the back roads? Oh, you want to know about the back roads? Well, let me tell you about the back roads. You know, look at this one here, you can find this one there, and discovering how to fill in to have models for each of these is where your handbook comes in, and most importantly, where the internet comes in. Why? Because if you go to the internet and type in whatever it is you need, magazine, book, Facebook entry, picture in a magazine, up will pop all kinds of opportunities, ways for you to have models, ways to have systems that'll create it for you. Each of these, they're not all the same. Some of them are problematic, but most of these will create for you the citation. Then you just have to copy and paste it into your document. So here's Citation Machine, a popular use. Purdue OWL, very popular use. EasyBib, again. Scribbler, not bad. APA Style, hey, that sounds important. Purdue Library again. Bib, any one of these will work for you. So you click on EasyBib, and it tells you, here's how you do it. Here's a book. There's the title page. There's the author. There's the publisher. Here's an example. So all you have to do is copy and put your author, your date, your title, your publisher with the same punctuation, with the same parentheses. If you take these models, there's an ebook down there from an e-reader. If you take these models and transfer your specific knowledge into them, not complicated. Does it take a little time? Yes. Does it take a little while to get used to? Yeah. I still struggle with APA once in a while. But once you understand and what you really appreciate that you have a system, then APA is not so difficult. You also might be interested to know that in Word, there is a references button, and that you can set it to APA or any of the other. There's MLA right there. And then you can start creating your bibliographic index, your citations, and then you can insert citations. Here is your primary elements that you will be using. Let's see what happens if I click citations. Yeah, I haven't created any for this document. But once you get into it, and you can go to help, or you can go to YouTube. YouTube is a fabulous place to find this kind of information. Just type in, how do I use Word citation generation? It'll have a 2-minute YouTube video out there that will show you which buttons to click and in which order. Okay, whew. I think we're close to being done with me yelling at you. Let's summarize. APA is one system out of many systems. It's not the best system. It's not the only system. It's the system we're using that I'm teaching you. APA has 2 elements. It has a formatting element and a citation element. It exists in a system, in a document I provide for you, an ecosystem where the source, your essay, and the references page create a circular model, and they're all connected. In your text, you must create an attribution. The attribution will have the author's name, the title of the article, and if possible, the page number. Don't forget the date. Date has to go in there somewhere. Attributions vary. What I've done over my experience is every time I read a newspaper article, I notice how the writer creates an attribution. Because usually attributions are kind of trying to manipulate you. They will say, a doctor at the university, Harvard University Med School. Because if I tell you that about the person who's about to give the information, the reader goes, ooh, Harvard, ooh, med school. But if I say the far right provocateur throwing firebombs into the crowd said, well, then I also get to go, ooh, a far right firebrand throwing Molotov cocktails into the. I also get to judge what I'm about to read. So your attributions are a way to shape your information, to shape and be persuasive with all the elements you want to talk about in your essay. The reference page, small elements, use models, reverse indent, alphabetical, only those included in your essay. And now, an opportunity for your questions. Now we're 100% correct. Okay, what's most important to me is that you recognize that APA is a system and that every faculty member will have a slightly different expectation for how you use APA. I, for example, am not all that uptight about how you do your introductory issues, your header. That's not what I wanted. Where's my header one? Your header, which should be consistent across all your classes, and anytime you have to use APA, it's a little different for MLA. But some faculty members will. Some faculty members will say, hey there, you better use APA or I'm taking off 10 points. Of course, I would not do that, but someone else might. So make sure you ask and make sure you give them what they want. That's the first thing to remember. The second most important element is that you see this as a system. It is not complicated. It's just confusing. Once you see that it's just Lego pieces that you're snapping into place, then all you have to do is find the right Lego pieces. Use the internet, use YouTube to get models. Copy and paste the models and then put your sources information in. We won't even start using APA in our class for another couple of weeks, but I'm going to ask you when we start to read Into the Beautiful North to make an APA reference citation for Into the Beautiful North. Not difficult. If you haven't gotten Into the Beautiful North, buy it because it's coming up. It's coming up quick, and it's a lot of words. We've got a lot of words to read in Into the Beautiful North. I think you'll enjoy the words, though. At least I hope so.
It's a really good book so far.
Oh, thank you. It gets even crazier and more interesting, I think, as it goes along.
It starts off quite a bit of information.
It starts off in paradise. Why does everyone want to leave paradise? It's one of the questions of the book, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to hang around. Our time is up, but if you have questions, now would be a great time to ask them. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about APA or other elements of the class, or basically any questions that you might have.